Thank you, John, for the introduction. Thank you, the Consul General, for organizing and hosting this event. Thank you, Luz. Thank you, President Charterend, Dr. Hill. Very enlightening. And thank you to distinguished colleagues, ministers, members, friends, etc. So it's good to be in Manitoba. I'm now becoming a Jets fan, slowly but surely. So it's certainly winning me over hearts and minds. I'm going to keep my comments brief and short. We do have the distinction. I think that we're probably the only Manitoba operation that's we have one foot in Canada, but we're also listed on the American Exchange. So we have an interest on both sides of the border as it is. If we look today at the title of the name of the conference, Critical Minerals, I think is a very apt and appropriate title. What we're facing today, the threat to the North American automobile economy is existential, and I think it is unprecedented historically. And it's important that the industry become cognizant of these facts. The electrification of the global automobile fleet is now a firm reality. It's no longer an ambition or an aspiration. This is something that is happening. As fast as the manufacturers can produce the vehicles, the consumers are jumping in to grab them. And if we have if you look at the global automobile fleet, there's 1.4 billion cars, 10 to 15 kilos per car of lithium, and the lithium does not exist. Today, certainly in North America, there is no integrated production of lithium. And if you look at on a global landscape, 85% of all the lithium is actually processed and controlled in China. And China has 300 EV manufacturers within their borders as well. So China has a 10-year head start on North America. We're seeing a lot of these critical minerals moving across from North America or from South America, Central America to China. But we're seeing the same thing now happening in Europe with Germany starting to put up their hydroxide plants and Volkswagen, et cetera, all becoming very, very competitive in this space. So I think the systemic threat to the supply chain is something that is real, and it's a very legitimate threat to the future of the North American automobile industry. We're starting to recognize that. We're starting to see that. We're seeing a huge pivot away from the combustion engine. It now has a sell-by date. Every manufacturer has put an absolute sell-by date, whether it's 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, but they're now saying that they're fully committed to this electrification process. Ford just made their largest infrastructure investment in their history, and their order books for the F-150 had to be closed because the consumers were demanding more and more, and it was impossible to keep up with that demand. So this is a strong reality. But we are obviously new to Manitoba. I don't have the 100-year history that my distinguished colleague at Hudbay has, but I think the idea of lithium is a new commodity as well. I mean, 5-10 years ago, lithium was a very uninteresting commodity. As a matter of fact, our resource in Snow Lake or around Snow Lake was originally discovered back in the 30s and the 40s. And over the decades, it was drilled consistently coming up with lithium, which was a disappointment at the time because the objective really was gold, base metals, et cetera. So while lithium might be the second most prolific mineral on the planet, it certainly is there is not sufficient supplies today to come even close to satiating the demand that is coming down the pike for the electrification. In that regard, so what we see in Manitoba is a phenomenal opportunity for the province. The province really is blessed with the fact that it has a green energy source. The hydroelectric is a huge advantage. It's consistent with the ambitions of the end product. It makes sure that you're congruent, your actual raw materials are congruent with the philosophy of what you're trying to achieve with regard to the environment and the green initiative. The railway system, as the Honorable Minister mentioned, gives you the smallest carbon footprint possible in terms of logistics. Instead of shipping it around the world, you're actually, it's somewhat in jest, but in fact, I like to say that, you could be from Snow Lake to downtown Detroit in a day and a half, with a very limited carbon footprint. So there's a tremendous advantage in Manitoba in terms of the actual existing infrastructure. but also there's that, the long mining legacy that exists there, and the understanding and comprehension of the mining industry. And obviously working together, we're just starting to build and cultivate those relationships, but we've had a wonderful experience, very warm experience with the ministries and organizations that we have come into contact with, and we continue to grow and cultivate that. And I look forward as well to interacting and engaging with the indigenous communities in that capacity as well. I think that and again, the lithium demand is not, we're not looking at a typical mining situation or an extractive industry. We're looking at a demand curve that is generational, because this is going to take 10, 20, 30 years of building out the electrification and then sustaining it. This is the greatest industrial pivot probably in a century, going back to the railroads or whatnot. So what we're seeing is something that is a long-term benefit, and Manitoba is perfectly positioned. It's absolutely in the perfect geographic position, the perfect position with regards to the abundant resources, the power sources, the infrastructure, and most importantly, the people. The people of Manitoba have, like I said, the understanding, the comprehension, and the experience in working with this. So there is a great opportunity for Manitoba to play a pivotal role in this revolution, if you will, of creating a more friendly environmental situation with regards to our carbon emissions, with regards to our transport facilities. And Manitoba, being where it is, the geography, the power, and most importantly, the people, I think is absolutely positioned perfectly to really make a huge impact together, with working with their South American border, not South American, but yes, the Southern American border. So I look forward very much in engaging further. I think that it's a very, very exciting time. These are in exciting circumstances, and I think this is something that we are very enthusiastic, working together with the communities, with the provincial, with the federal, with all the various entities. And again, once again, I really thank you, and I appreciate the hospitality, the warmth. And I appreciate the opportunity to address you all today. So thank you very much.
Philip, thank you so much. I did have a question for you, and perhaps it goes for the mining association, and that also includes, of course, Richard Trudeau, who spoke earlier, jumping just earlier before John came late on this portion of the program. So, to the U.S. audience, which is at this point comprised of several U.S. downstream industries, including auto OEMs, but also manufacturers at the tier 1 level that are using a lot of these commodities in order to integrate this product into their manufacturing output. What would be your maybe 1 or 2 key points that you think you may want to emphasize as they look to enhance the North American supply chain?
Sure. So what our plan is that at the moment we have 11.1 million tons of resource at Snow Lake. And as we speak, the drills are moving in the winter program to expand that to a multiple. And the ambition is to then, we've been working closely with the provincial government and identifying a site where we can further upgrade the material and value add to the hydroxide level. So we're looking to build a hydroxide plant in and around Winnipeg, most likely, and that will then create what will be the first integrated producer within North America, with completely green credentials, renewable energy, 98% renewable, and the most minimum carbon footprint. And with that regard, we're also applying for a B Corp status so that we can actually verify those credentials as well, in a meaningful way. So we would be almost a one-stop solution for an automobile manufacturer to be able to secure their supply chain, which at the moment is under huge threat, because what we're looking at today is that the lithium supply is they're talking about 90% increase in lithium supply over the next 5 years, but they're talking about a 400% increase in demand. So, you have this systemic disconnect between supply and demand that I've never seen it historically. If you look at, the chip shortage we just went through on the automobile manufacturing side, that's almost a joke. Or even the energy crisis of the 70s is a joke compared to what the next 10, 20, 30 years could look like when you have this failure. Because I mean, it might sound a little bit off kilter, but I believe strongly that 10 years from now, if you live in a city center, you're going to struggle to find a gas station to fill up your car. This reality now it's a tsunami. It's cascading, and I think that the White House, the Biden administration, they've deemed lithium as a strategic mineral. And I think we're seeing a lot of the manufacturers waking up to this fact that if they want to exist in 10, 15 years from now, they're going to have to secure that. Because it just doesn't exist. And whether what it started out as, maybe driven legislatively in terms of getting people into electric cars is now consumer driven, and the consumers are demanding electric cars. If you look just now, we just had the the best cars of 2021, and I think almost all of them and the runner ups were all electric or at least hybrid cars. The consumers, this is what they're looking for. This is what they want, and this is the new reality. And it's again, consumers today, they do not have to compromise on luxury. They don't have to compromise on economics. We've come to that point where they've kind of all there's a confluence of all those issues have now kind of met, and we're now firmly on the way to a complete electrification of that fleet. And again, there's a huge pressure on and this is my final, but there's huge pressure on the industry because you have to, if you want to retain your market share, it's not automatic that you're going to move from combustion engine to electric and retain your market share that you might have had for decades or the legacy. And there's a competition now, not just between the traditional manufacturers, but suddenly you have guys like Rivian and like Tesla and Lucid, and they're well financed, well capitalized, and they're all coming in trying to grab market share as well. So it's going to be critical to taking that view to say, how do I secure my supply chain? How do I make sure that I have the batteries? And lithium is the battery. There is no replacement today that certainly not on the horizon that can displace lithium, regardless. And the price of lithium, which is a factor, has increased dramatically. Just over the past 6 months, I think it's gone up by some 100% or something. So securing that supply, making sure you have a partner and hundreds of miles away instead of tens of thousands of miles away supply chain issues I think is going to be the differentiating factor for everyone over the course of the next decade.